in the Dead Sea Scroll fragments known as the Songs of the Sabbath Sacrifice, its translation summarizes the content that says, "What happens on the earth is but a pale reflection of that greater ultimate reality." And as Greg Braden wrote in one of his books, The Divine Matrix, the implication of both quantum theory and the ancient texts is that in the unseen realms, we create the blueprint for the relationships, careers, successes, and failures of the visible world. From this perspective, the Divine Matrix works like a great cosmic screen that allows us to see the non-physical energy of our emotions and beliefs projected in the physical medium of life. So the Matrix appears to provide an unbiased surface for our inner experiences and beliefs to be seen in the world. That's why we could call this matrix a cosmic mirror with which we can speak through our emotions. And beliefs have a great part to it because beliefs form our perception, and our perception is often creating the emotional home in which we are experiencing our lives most of the time. And self-awareness then leads us into a greater observation of this emotional home, so we can recognize how we feel most of the time, and we kind of separate it from who we truly are. So we don't define ourselves by how we feel, by how we choose to see our lives, but rather as this is my present expression. This is how I feel right now. And why it is important? Well, if you really want to start shaping your life and having an effect on the matrix, because if matrix is this cosmic mirror, it means that it is only mirroring back to you more of what you believe to be true and what you feel emotionally, so you can attract it. Because you can imagine yourself being like a source of gravitation, and you gravitate towards yourself more of what you feel most of the time. But you don't attract to yourself what you feel, you attract the thoughts around your emotions. So you can imagine yourself like feeling however you feel. But you don't feel this way out of nothing. You feel this way because of certain belief systems, because of certain thoughts that you've been repeating to think for such a long time they became your beliefs. It's because of conditioning. It's because you've been programmed to think that way. It's because you've been hypnotized to think that way. And now that became your norm. Like, this is normal for you. This is natural for you to think that money is bad, maybe, or to think that if you will start doing something new, you will fail at it. Or you think that only smart people can be rich and you're not smart. Or whatever it is, those are certain belief systems. And all these beliefs need to be acknowledged based by how they make you feel. Like, is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it maybe fear? Maybe despair? Maybe it leads to anger. And those are really, really low frequencies. I want to show you a map of consciousness. And this map of consciousness is really important at this point because we start to recognize that there's frequency to any emotion. And we can soon connect, for example, anger with hate. Every time we feel anger, we'll start to hate something. Every time we feel fear, we'll feel anxious about something. Every time we feel shame, we'll feel humiliation. And once we start connecting the dots, we'll recognize, okay, maybe this is not so random. Maybe it's a pattern. And when there's a pattern can be changed. For example, when you start, like I said at the beginning, separating your emotional state from who you truly are, you can become an observer of yourself. You can look at yourself from this standpoint of an observer and say to yourself, okay, I feel these things because of these thoughts, because I thought this happened this way, and it's okay. And that's where you start developing a sense of compassion towards yourself, right? You've heard about being more compassionate, being kinder to others, or let go, let surrender, or whatever it was, or be more positive. You've heard these sayings. But if you haven't dealt with your innermost powerful shame, or anger, or grief, or guilt, then these emotions are still running your behaviors. They're still the most powerful patterns in your unconscious mind, in your unconscious system, and they need to be acknowledged and slowly healed. That's why this map of consciousness is so important right now, just to connect the dots. Okay, what happens that I start to feel shame in my life? What happens that I start to feel guilt in my life? What happens that I start to feel fear in my life? What happens that I start to feel a desire in my life? What happens that I start to feel anger in my life? And you start noticing, okay, if most of my days I led by these lower emotions, I can't create a better life, because these emotions are just making me locked in this old way of living, in this old way of being, in this old way of looking at life. And in these emotions, I can't be creative. In these emotions, I can't be playful. In these emotions, I can't be joyful. In these emotions, I can't be happy. So when you notice how frequently you feel that, you can soon identify and give a name to this part of you. Maybe unhealed inner self, or maybe John that needs some love, or maybe, I don't know, however you want to call this part of you. And every time when that part of you awakens, becomes active, you can say, oh, this John is again active right now. And you can, decide what do you need for these emotions to be released. Sometimes they just need to be acknowledged. Sometimes you just need to write down what you feel. Sometimes you need to notice how to use that anger. What is bother? Look, if you're still in a same relationship that's constantly awakening anger within you and nothing changes in that relationship, well, you can't release anger. You will need to do something about that relationship. Say that person what that person needs to, what needs to be said. Maybe separate yourself from that person. Whatever you have to do to ascend on an emotional level, it will help you to release the energy. And then when we go higher on the emotional spectrum, somewhere in between is neutrality. It's when you feel okay, when you feel at peace, when you trust, when you feel a release of something. That's when you feel neutral. In neutral state, you often become aware of creative ideas. In that state, now you're communicating with the field. So what you're noticing right now is that when you're in lower emotions of survival, you're not communicating with the field. The field is only reflecting back to you what needs to be dealt with within yourself. That's why they say all answers are within you. So when you're not happy with how your reality is, it just means that firstly you need to heal your inner self. You firstly need to recognize what that anger in your life is constantly reflecting back to you. What depression is saying to you. Depression usually comes from ignoring the fact that your life is boring, that the way you're living is not in alignment with the way you want to live, and you've been ignoring this fact for such a long time that you started to feel completely hopeless, completely powerless, and that's usually a sign of depression. It doesn't mean that you need to stay there, but you need to notice why your life is boring and how you actually wanted to live your life. And often then people connect it with money. Look, I would love to live that kind of a lifestyle, but I don't have that much amount of money that I could support that lifestyle. Well, start with where you are and let's see what can you do. at that point right now, maybe you could just shift your diet and start moving your body a little bit more. Science says that people who move their bodies frequently are happier. Actually, a natural cure for depression is activity. Science says if you could actually make a pill which would create the same effect in your body as 20 minutes of walk does every single day, that pill would become a magic cure for depression, for unhappiness. So for 20 minutes, walking in nature for 20 minutes can create magic in your life. And then when you go out for a walk, listen something that inspires you, or observe the nature, or start asking yourself who created this magnificent nature around you and how can you be a part of the creation, and what inspires you, like what puts you into this state of being creative, of being a bit happier, of being a bit more playful. So we can raise the frequency. Here on this chart, on the map of consciousness, you see numbers. Like shame is on 20, guilt is on 30. You see numbers are increasing. That's like the frequency that is increasing. When you feel, for example, more willing to do something, you feel much more charged in your heart. You feel a need for movement. You feel like right now I can move mountains. Right now I will change my habits. Right now I will move myself. And when you feel like that, that's when you start communicating with the matrix. The matrix starts sending you more empowering thoughts, and ideas start finding you. That's a sign of communication. So you don't communicate with matrix through certain hopes and wishes and prayers. You communicate with the matrix through emotion. So that's how you start controlling your reality. You start controlling your reality through emotions, through feeling. Feeling is the secret. You've heard Neville Goddard say that. But if you read some ancient Buddhist books, you will notice what they are training themselves to do is to feel. They feel compassion. They feel kindness. They feel peace. They feel appreciation. And by training yourself to feel certain emotions, certain feeling, you start manipulating the chemistry in your body. That's how you can start producing healing in your body. That's how you can influence your brain to get into a certain state where you can become more acceptable to information, so you can enhance learning, you can enhance the speed of reading, you can enhance memories, and you can enhance the power of your imagination. Man is all imagination, again said Neville Goddard. What he meant by that is that if we want to control the matrix, we need to get more familiar with our own imagination. We need to recognize that we are in control of our imagination. Because of constant impulses by social media, we forget of the power of our minds. There are so many impulses coming in that all we want to do is just to shut off ourselves. But actually what we need to do is to learn to control the distractions. So you don't allow from external places into your internal sacred world things you don't want to have there, things you don't want to be there. Like you don't want to listen music that's constantly feeding you up with information that is toxic for you. You don't want to put food into your body that you know on the chemistry level is toxic for you. You don't want to put drinks into your system that you know on the chemical level is toxic for you. And you don't want to look constantly things that are toxic for you, you know, things that make you feel bad, things that make you feel sad. Sure, we can't ignore everything that surrounds us, but if you more frequently focus on beauty, you will start to honor it a little bit more. You will start to notice that beauty is a part of your life. And then you start paying attention to your unconscious mind. Unconscious mind is made out of information that was the most frequent in your childhood? And as you were growing up, there were certain things that were constantly repeating, certain belief systems by others, certain behaviors by others, certain ways of responding to life by others, certain ways of reacting to life by others. And as you've been observing that, you thought, well, observing is completely harmless. But actually observing is copying. It was recording your environment. So once you became a bit older, you started embodying what you've recorded. And that's all stored in your subconscious mind. So then, when it comes to communicating with the matrix, you're not communicating with it consciously, you're communicating with it unconsciously, subconsciously, through your beliefs, through your perception, through your emotions like anger, hate, rage, as well as love, compassion, understanding. You communicate with the matrix. So when you're saying, well, my life is the way it is right now and I don't like it. I don't like what kind of people are constantly showing up in my life. Well, it's because those people are the most familiar to you. When you want to change something like that, start reading about different type of people you would like to become more familiar with. Maybe successful entrepreneurs or more spiritual people, more spiritually awakened people. Start reading about that. And when you're reading about it, don't think like it's something inaccessible for me. Think like those people are present as much as the most familiar people in my life. Just I'm not meeting them because I'm not on that frequency. Well, when you start installing new information in your mind, what starts happening is you get in touch with the matrix. Hey, now I'm becoming more familiar with something else, and the matrix, the cosmic mirror, will start mirroring back to you this new information that you're installing, only for you to see if that is something that resonates with you, if that's something you really wanted to experience in your life. So to give you an example, when I wanted to get my first job to create a money flow in my life, back at that time I was not thinking about what I would like to do, so I got myself the first possible job. But then when I started thinking more consciously what job I would really, really love to do, I've noticed, well, I would love to do something that would be related to my hobby, which was back at the time freestyle mountain biking. I was really serious about it. And I was thinking, well, how to get a job in a certain company that supports that would be like a system of support for me. And I knew that a shop exists near me. Also, few years later, they became my sponsor as I was competing. But I thought I would love to work there. I love the people working there. I love the system that they had. So I started thinking more about it. And every time I went there to get something, I was looking at a store like how amazing it would be to work here. And for some time, nothing happened. But every time I was there, I was looking around and I was feeling like I would be already working here. I was feeling how amazing it would be every single day, waking up and knowing I'm going to a job that I love. And then sometime later, I've seen that they are searching for new workers, for new consultants. And I called them, and I think a few weeks later, I got a job. So it all started firstly for me, with knowing what I want. Then I needed to see how it feels like. So every time I went into that place, I was feeling like I would be already working there. I was kind of feeling the energy of it. Like, how would it feel? And then for some time, nothing changed in my life. But I just started getting myself more onto the energy of possibility, until at some point I started searching for new workers. and I've applied and I got a job. And that's how everything works when we start speaking and communicating with the matrix. Firstly, you need clarity. You need clarity around what you want. What is the thing that you want? And clarity means you know so clearly about it that doesn't matter at what time somebody asks you what is the thing, you can say clearly, this is what I want. And then start getting yourself into it. Like if you want a new car, start going and be interested about it. Like you would be buying it, start looking around, start going into these car shops and sit into that car and feel it and notice how it is, how it feels, how it smells, and just, don't rush the process, but get into the flow of the process. So you start getting into a new energy where that thing is not just a part of someone else's dream. That thing slowly becomes a part of your dream. And then through the process of time, the matrix will start giving you more of the science that you're actually tapping into that new energy until possibility will become at some point like a choice to make or to take. Like something will happen in your life where you will just need to pick and say yes to it. Like maybe a good opportunity for that car will come to you, or somebody will give you a car, or I don't know, there's infinite different ways that things can happen. But the point is that more you start kind of getting yourself into a jar of new opportunity, into a jar of that new reality, more you start kind of feeding your energy system with the energy of that future. And more you start doing that, more your gravitational field starts attracting to you the energy of that future jar until at some point you will experience it. This is how you control the matrix, my friend. I hope you've enjoyed in today's video. Thank you so much. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel. And to anyone who would love to support my art, I hope you've enjoyed in today's painting as well. To anyone who would love to support my art, check out our fresh new site, AttractPassion.com. You can find everything there. Prints of my art, some of the original paintings, some guided meditations. So check it out. Until next time, one love.